The doors of the newly restored Notre Dame Cathedral were officially reopened to the public during a ceremony Saturday evening, just over 5 years after a blaze ravaged the iconic structure's roof, frame, and spire. The celebration, which began at around 7:20 p.m. local time, was attended by some 1,500 people, including around 40 heads of state, including U.S. President-elect Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Zelenskyy. Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York and Maronite Patriarch Baccarat al-Rai of Antioch were among the 170 bishops from France and around the world who attended the ceremony, which featured a message from Pope Francis, who did not travel for the occasion. Authorities mobilized a massive security force of some 66,000 police and gendarmes for the event, citing a very high level of terrorist threats. Space was provided for up to 40,000 people outside the cathedral. The choir, the clergy, the guests stand during the ceremony to mark the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral on December 7, 2024 in Paris. French President Emmanuel Macron, who was initially scheduled to speak on the cathedral's forecast to respect the law of separation between the church and the state, warned of speaking into the building due to inclement weather. As previously announced in a press release from the Archdiocese of Paris, expressing the gratitude of the French nation to the cathedral's rebuilders during his address, Macron asserted that Notre Dame tells us how much meaning and transcendence help us to live in this world. Breaking 5 years of silence, the bell of Notre Dame, known as the Bourdon, rang out across Paris. This was the first step in the reopening office, initiated by 3 knocks on the cathedral's central portal, the portal of the Last Judgment, by the Archbishop of Paris, Laurent Ulrich. The opening of the doors was set to the music of the polyphonic piece Totus Tuus, composed in 1987 by Henryk Górek during Pope John Paul II's visit to Poland, and sung by the 150 young members of the Martyrs de Notre Dame. May the rebirth of this admirable church be a prophetic sign of the renewal of the church in France, Pope Francis said in a letter read by the Apostolic Nuncio of France, Archbishop Celestino Migliore, after a tribute to the firefighters who saved the 800-year-old cathedral from the flames, and the French president's speech. I invite all the baptized who will joyfully enter this cathedral to feel a legitimate pride and reclaim their faith heritage. There followed the awakening and blessing of the great organ, a 3-century-old instrument whose pipes had remained clogged with lead dust following the 2019 fire. Notre Dame has known darkness, now it is back in the light. It has known silence, and now it rediscovers the joy of our chant, said Ulrich, who took possession of the Paris Cathedral for the first time, 2 years after his nomination as the head of the Paris Archdiocese, succeeding Archbishop Michael Opetit. In his brief homily, Ulrich emphasized that it is not only princes, chiefs, and notables who have their place in the church, but that the door is open to all, including foreigners and non-believers. After singing a Magnificat and reciting the Our Father, the ceremony concluded with a final blessing and the singing of the Te Deum. At the end of the religious ceremony, a concert organized and broadcast by France Televisions and Radio France featured internationally renowned artists, including Chinese pianist Lang Lang, South African soprano Preeti Wyande, and Franco-Swiss tenor Benjamin Behem. The consecration mass for the cathedral's new main altar was scheduled for Sunday at 10:30 a.m. local time, again in the presence of the French president and religious leaders. The cathedral itself was not desecrated by the blaze, as Opetites celebrated a mass there 2 months later. Celebrations surrounding the reopening of the Notre Dame will continue until December 16, with each day devoted to welcoming different communities and groups, including firefighters and patrons. At the end of this octave, the cathedral will return to its usual schedule. The fire, the causes of which have yet to be determined, has sparked a wave of emotion around the world, including the United States, which has the largest number of the fallen contributors to the restoration and reconstruction work, amounting to almost 700 million euros. Michael Picard, president of the Friends of Notre Dame de Paris, said in a recent interview that American donors amounted for 90% of 50,000 euros worth of international donations received by the charitable associations. The 5 years of work involved a total of 250 companies and hundreds of craftsmen, with almost half of the French population already planning to visit the breathtaking and now immaculate cathedral, rebuilt in the style of the one designed by 19th century architect Eugene Viollet Deloc. Extended opening hours will be offered until next Pentecost, with a new free online booking system. At the press conference in Paris, November 13, the cathedral's rector, Monsignor Olivier Dumas, announced that some 15 million visitors will now be expected to visit the cathedral each year, compared with about 12 million before the fire. Now is the time to return to Notre Dame, he declared. We thank God for this amazing testimony, and we thank God for the growth of the church. Long live Catholic Church. Long live the Church of God. We thank God US President Donald Trump was there, then the French president. We thank God for the success of the ceremony. Thank God. Thank you very much for watching. I love you all. Bye-bye.